Buonasera a tutti, good evening and welcome to the Italian Radio Hour. Io sono Viviana and I would like to welcome back our regular listeners and also welcome any new listeners. Also, be sure to like us on Instagram and Facebook at Italian Radio Hour and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch up on any past video interviews. Vorrei dare il benvenuto ai nostri ascoltatori da tutto il mondo, grazie per essere con noi anche oggi mentre continuiamo il nostro viaggio per l'Italia e la cultura italiana. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome back someone whose work has brought so much joy, beauty, and Italian spirit into our homes. Joining me is Susan Gravely, the founder of Vietri and the author of the gorgeous book Italy on a Plate, which many of you know is my personal favorite for its mix of recipes, stories, friendship, and travels that truly capture the heart of Italy. And now Susan is back with a brand new book, Italy in a Glass, Adventures, Aperitivi, Antipasti, an irresistible celebration of Italy's beloved drinking traditions, small bites, and the magical moments that happen when people gather around the table. Susan's journey with Italy began with a single trip that changed everything, a moment many of us who love Italy can relate to. Since then, she has built Vietri into a beautiful bridge between Italy and the US, partnering with artisans, supporting family-run workshops, and bringing the warmth of Italian hospitality to tables all over the world. Today, we'll talk about her adventures, the friendships she has cultivated across Italy, the inspiration behind both books, and of course, the art of slowing down and savoring life the Italian way. So don't go anywhere, ma prima pubblicità. Parli italiano? Do you want to learn, improve, or master your Italian? Istituto Mondo Italiano can help. Located in the heart of Regent Square, Mondo Italiano offers small group classes and one-on-one private tutoring in person or online to help you learn Italian in no time. Visit us online at istitutomondoitaliano.org. Susan, it's such a privilege to have you back on the Italian Radio Hour. How are you today?
Molto bene, Viviana mia. Thank you for inviting me again.
Well, when I think about you, I think about hospitality. You know, they say the Southern hospitality, but it's not just a cliche because it is something that you have lived since you were a little girl. Tell us a little bit about your family business and the people that would come to your house and how you would, as a little girl, be able to sneak in or stay a little longer, listen to these grown-ups talking and so forth.
Well, it was a wonderful childhood, Viviana. I grew up in eastern North Carolina where they were all small towns. My father was in a third generation tobacco company where they imported and exported burley, which is the sweet part of tobacco. And these were the years when everyone smoked. So we would have foreigners in our home all the time during the tobacco season, and I loved it. The only way I could be there would be to put on a nice Sunday dress and serve either the cigarettes that they were talking about or the drinks and sit and not say a word unless spoken to, which was a Southern polite way for a child to be around. I loved it. Before they came, we had a standing globe and Daddy would show Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and he'd show Rome, or he'd show Cairo, or he'd show Shanghai, and he'd say, look how small the world is. You're only a phone call or a plane trip away, so I want you to go and see the world. So I grew up with those feelings. I grew up with this knowledge that there were all these other people and we were all the same as far as loving to talk, be together, eat together, enjoy each other. So that was the beginning of my roots and love of travel.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So this philosophy that you're just a phone call away or a plane ticket now with obviously these other modalities of communication, it's even faster. So it's really become a beautiful thread in your life. We're going to fast forward a little bit because Italy wasn't in your life at that point. Maybe you had some Italian guests, I don't know, but it was there was the dream trip to take as a family.
You're
Um,
right.
mhm.
Yes, you're right. Italy, the Italian conglomerate, tobacco was owned by the state, and they were my father's favorite people, and his agent was his favorite person. Um, uh, for me, I had never been to Italy. So my father had had heart problems when he was a child, rheumatic fever. So he was selling the company early at 60 to have fun with mama. And they had planned this fabulous trip. And then he sold the company, went to Georgia, introduced the Italian conglomerate to the new owners, came back, didn't feel well, and had a heart attack and died. Well, from the sadness came the joy for us because 2 years later, Mama invited my sister Frances and me to Italy to take that trip. And on that trip, we not only met an Italian gentleman on an airplane that ended up helping us start our company, but we stayed at Il San Pietro in Positano, where the dinnerware was so special and became my first love and the first pattern to introduce to America.
Mhm. So yes, there was unfortunately an incident again that would have discouraged many people because your mama was carrying pretty much everything, in her pocketbook or wherever it's called. And tell us a little bit because again, it's a lot of people would have given up. You already unfortunately had your father passing and then this dream trip and then gets a little spoiled right off the bat, but you had that guardian angel that you met on the plane.
We did have that angel. My sister had gone up to business class to use the ladies' room, and she started talking to this gentleman who came back to our seats, gave us his phone number, and said, "If you are in Florence, give me a call," which we never would have done as Southern women. But we went from Positano to Florence. We left the hotel. Mama had all of our passports and traveler's checks and check and cash in her pocketbook because a tradition in our family was for my mother or my mother and father to buy us a gift on a trip for remembrance. We hadn't found anything. We went to dinner. We came back upstairs. We went to Buca Lapi in Florence and had our only argument, which was Mama wanted to get a taxi. Francis and I wanted to walk. We walked. Here came a motorcyclist who pushed Mama, grabbed her pocketbook, and stole everything. So, after spending several hours in the police station, realizing nothing was going to happen, the next morning, Mama said, "Remember that nice man on the airplane?" We called him. He came. He helped us with passports. He lent us money, Viviana. And he asked Mama, "Where do you want to go?" And she said, "The Leaning Tower of Pisa." So off we went that day to see the Leaning Tower of Pisa. That was our second lucky charm.
Hmm. Yes, and so eventually, how did you and your sister, your mom, set on starting a business in Italy? What were you already looking for something, or did you get inspired by this trip and meeting some other either artisans or individuals?
I was always an entrepreneur. I started working at 14 with lemonade stands and fundraising, and always liked to create things. I had completed some work at Duke University Hospital, starting their outpatient play program. My sister was taking time off, having children, but she was an industrial um, designer, and my mother had plenty of time. Well, we fell so in love with this dinnerware that we call compagnia, with all the animals around, that we sat with a couple at the hotel in Positano, and We were talking about retailing. We were talking about just buying for our friends and family. And the gentleman, Mr. Karp, said, I would not retail, I would wholesale and distribute because clearly you love design. So that was in our head. Once we saw Fabio and told him about our adventure, he introduced us to one of his best friends who worked for Macy's, who looked at the plates, said, oh, beautiful plates, but they are not easy to work with. Do not start this company. But we grew up in an entrepreneurial family, Viviano. It was, what is the risk? We invested $20,000 in the company. And with that, I got my notebook and started making notes and meeting everybody I could to find out about importing, pricing, customs duty, what is wholesale, how do you sell to stores? And we decided that fall, after a return trip and getting the prices down, that we were going to try. And that's how it happened, that serendipitously.
And what was your most memorable initial order? Was it coming from indeed having your work, your plates?
Well, when we went back that September, we had gotten in touch with Fabio after he had been fishing, and he met us. We had some prices. Don Vincenzo said, no, no, these prices now, they are not the prices. So he gave us new prices. We went an hour south to Paestum and used one of those old-fashioned um, adding machines to figure out we could still do this.
Mhm.
We went back and I worked with a fellow named um, Posido, and he and I designed the first new pattern, which was a fish. So for us, starting with Solimeni and Vietri sul Mare and creating these animals and flower patterns that were so beautiful that we could create this mix and match look was the most incredible experience. And for us, and for me, it's still the memory I have. The quick story of my first customer was we found out about gift shows. So we had been in Italy in September of 1983. I got back, found out about the New York tabletop show, called the gentleman that did the temporary booth. He said, absolutely no, there's a 2 year waiting line. I said, please, please, we have these plates coming. He said, meet me tomorrow. Well, I was in Chapel Hill. I flew up to New York, met him acting like I was in New York. And he said, you can have the 6 foot space beside the registration desk, but make it look nice. So Mama and I made it look nice, and we asked the Italian waiter to come up and serve wine at 10 o'clock in the morning if we had a guest. And lo and behold, these very good looking people came to our booth without a name tag, which meant that they were important. They looked at our plates, which were only 12 at the time, and said, can we write an order? Well, they wrote a $14,000 order, and
Wow.
they were Neiman Marcus. We couldn't believe it. And you better believe, Viviana, that when that product came on our first container on March 12th of 1984, we gathered Mama and her friends from Rocky Mount, all the young people I knew from college, and went to the bus station and got more, unloaded and counted every piece, and made sure our first order went to Neiman Marcus, which has been an account of ours every year for 42 years.
That
A
is
wonderful, amazing story.
almost like you almost got your investment back right off,
Exactly.
right off the
You're
bat.
right. You're right.
So what I do love about when not only about the stories on Italy on the plate, but you kind of share the same approach on Italy in a glass is your
Yes.
relationships, your friendships, how people welcome you and how you welcome them. You gather, you look at style, and you pay a lot of attention to the artisans and the details. So I'm
Yeah.
sharing a picture. Can you tell us where you are, approximately what year this picture was taken? And again, tell us more about your relationship with some of the artisans that over time became friends, became family.
I will. This fellow's name is Potenza. Potenza is from Vietri, and this was a 1984, and I could tell by the ceramic necklace of houses I had on, and our outfits because that was me in the orange, my sister in the green. She was taking pictures, and he was painting little condiment plates that we were adding the next year to Campania.
Mhm.
Potenza now is 80 years old. I still am in touch with him. He's retired. And he was the joy. He was the person that would sit with me. I was not speaking Italian at the time. And we would design new patterns for Campania. So
Mhm.
that is a very, very special picture. Our relationships have been quite amazing because Fabio, it ended up, was from a very noble family from Florence.
Mhm.
And I got to know them very well, his sister Donatella and his brother in law, Vani. They would travel with us sometimes. They would be my biggest critique. There's a funny story that they wanted to go to Sicily with me. So off we went, and we went to a town called Santo Stefano di Camastra, which I write about in Italy in a Glass. And we go to a cooperativa, and I am trying to speak Italian. And I am introducing Bonnie and Donatella. And I say, I want to introduce Count Guicciardini, a Contessa Guicciardini. But instead of using the word Corneli, um, Conte, I use Cornelio. And with that, the owner of the cooperativa just went like this, and Bonnie went like this. And Bonnie looked at him and went, Sono Cornelio. I am the rabbit. And for the rest of his life, I would be in Florence. I'd hear somebody on a bicycle going, Susanna, Susanna, sono Cornelio. I am the rabbit. So, my relationships have been wide and far. They continue to be um, young people, old people. I've been to weddings and funerals and marriages, and I am so comfortable and connected to your culture because, as you said earlier, it's very similar to the Southern culture. We believe in gathering together. We believe in setting a table. We love to create an environment for joy and conversation, tough conversation and easy conversation.
Yeah.
And we enjoy laughing. And the thing I really have wanted to bring back to Vietri, that's now run by young, bright, energetic, creative women and some men, Renaissance men, is to have fun. That
Mhm.
you win some, you lose some, but if you have relationships, as you were saying, you watch the details of life, you do your very best, then you will do fine, whatever fine is to you. But
Mhm.
that's been our philosophy from day one.
Indeed. And so let's talk about the Italy in a glass. So Italy on a plate had an amazing success. You
There
went
is.
on I would assume, book tours and meeting your audience and so forth. Was Italy in a glass somehow reading the back of your mind, or you drew on the experience of Italy on a plate and they said something else is missing? Let's do Italy in a glass.
I think you have it, Viviana. There are so many important, special people, places in Italy that throughout these years, people have said, please write a business book, please write a recipe book, a travel book. And I wanted to do all of that in one environment. And glass blowing is such an important part of the Italian uh, artisan world. And
Mhm.
I wanted to honor them. So, Italy in a Glass is focused on that relationship, but also, again, about how they entertain, the food that they eat, and creating stories about other locations in Italy. This book is in many ways similar, but gosh, I think it's even more beautiful than the last book. Photographed by Italian women, styled by them, as well as two gals from our company. And of course, stories and stories about my relationships and then my husband, Bill, and my relationships.
I'm going to give you the question first, and then we're going to go into a little break. Is there a particular aperitivo moment, whether it's a place, a person, or a season, that you carry closest to your heart? Okay, so don't go
Okay.
anywhere. We'll be back with Susan in just 5 seconds.
Do you love Italian food? Want to learn the secrets of homemade pasta, sauces, and traditional recipes, just like Nana used to make? At Mondo Italiano, our authentic Italian cooking classes bring the taste of Italy right to Pittsburgh. From fresh pasta to regional specialties, every class is a delicious journey through Italy's culinary traditions. Spots fill quickly, so reserve your seat today. Call us at 412-478-2681 or find us online. Mondo Italiano, where Italy comes alive one dish at a time.
Un caffè, per favore. For more than 35 years, Pittsburgh has started its mornings with La Prima Espresso. From freshly roasted beans from around the world to the perfect espresso or cappuccino, every cup is crafted with care. Stop by and enjoy the warmth of our baristas and familiar faces, or bring the taste of Italy home. Order online today at laprima.com. La Prima Espresso, Pittsburgh's coffee. Okay, so we're back with Susan Gravely, the author of Italy in a Plate and Italy in a Glass, and founder of Vietri. And since her latest publication, Italy in a Glass, Adventures, Aperitivi, and Antipasti, focus indeed on the atmosphere, the ritual, and the feeling of the moment, I have asked Susan before going into break if there was a particular, or maybe two or three aperitivo moments, a place, a person, or a season that she carries closest to your heart. So, Susan, which memory would you like, or memories would you like to share with us?
Well, there are two, Viviana. The first is the special time I spent with a gentleman named Maurizio Fabio, who
Mhm.
was the head barman at
Caffè Florian,
yes, at
the
Cafe
oldest.
Florian
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
Venice. I met him through Mimi Todd-Hunter, who lives in Venice, who I got to know, who's what I call the mayoressa of Venice. Maurizio is this kind, gentle, elegant man. We sat down and started talking about his years at Cafe Florian. And with this, he showed me a little book that he has carried all his life with sketches of drinks that different people who would come all the time would drink And so that when he saw them, he could have the drink ready for them. I thought that was the most intimate, lovely thing I'd ever heard of. And I talk about that in the book.
Mm-hmm.
The other is the Matzeh Winery.
Mm-hmm.
The Matzeh family, which a lot of Americans don't know, like they know Antinori and Frescobaldi, but it was the other factory that started in 1247. Well, Philippe Matzeh of the 1700s found out about a new electric machine to help make wines. And he wrote this gentleman, and it became Benjamin Franklin. Well, Benjamin Franklin introduced him to Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. But
Mm-hmm.
he and Jefferson had a rapport about politics and wines because Jefferson loved wines. Philippe Matzeh ended up taking his artisans and his vines to Monticello and planted Jefferson's first vineyard. With this, he also, in a letter, was talking about people and wrote that all men were created equally.
Mm-hmm.
And Kennedy writes in his memoirs, and it is documented, that those are the words from Matzeh that Jefferson used in the Declaration of Independence.
Mm-hmm.
In 2022, the Matzeh owners, brothers now, 27th generation, created Philippe Matzeh wine. And I show you a picture of it because that is Philippe Matzeh in the 1700s. The wine is smooth, it's gentle, and it has such a connection of Italy to America that
Mm-hmm.
it just brings out everything for me. So it's that glass of wine. And of course, which I forgot to say, the Bellini
Mm-hmm.
that Maurizio makes are my two most memorable romantic drinks.
Let me see if I can find any pictures, but you kind of mentioned wine, and I'm going to quote you. I like to believe that a glass of red wine is good for the heart, but I'm certain that cardiovascular exercise is. So here also you share pictures outside the homes or enjoying aperitivi or small bites, and you are showing some pictures of some amazing biking with friends. I think that was in Grosseto or somewhere in Tuscany.
Exactly, you're right. And that picture is Francesco Mazzei and his wife, Elisabetta Guicciardini. She is the daughter of my friends long ago, Donatella and Vani, and they have created this biking tour. And I tell about it. And the fun thing about this book is in the back, I give a description of different locations and things you can do because so many people ask about that. And
Mhm.
that's been fun. So they give bike tours, and you can be on electric bikes if you can't bike the hills that they do in the spring, summer, and the fall.
Mhm. So talking about some romantic moments, and you can confirm the location. And I see you in the company of a great gentleman. It looks very romantic. Where were you and Bill here? I would rather say Florence, but I'm not sure. I'm not. It might be a completely different place. So,
Well, this is in Florence, and believe it or not, this is on the water next, close to the Ponte Vecchio, and this is an apartment that we rent for 2 months every year.
mhm,
And we were just talking about how lucky we are that we live in a world of such kindness and joy when the world is not as easy as we wish it was.
mhm.
And we've been married 30 years. We met through friends, and there we are.
Wow. So this picture and many others. You have some other pictures of yourself in these very elegant long skirts. I love the long skirts. We'll see if I can find one or two. But
Oh,
the another picture that made my mouth watering is about appetizers. So
yes.
let me just share the seafood appetizer that is just fantastic. I don't know if it is the it's all crudo, if it is raw, if it's some of them are cooked. But people talk a lot about sushi, but the Italians have been eating raw seafood and fish for obviously by fishing it and kind of consuming it within a few hours in between. So tell us about these beautiful arrangements.
Isn't that beautiful?
It is.
That is so beautiful. This is at Mimi Todd Hunter's palazzo that's on the Grand Canal in Venice. She and her husband are New Zealanders,
Mhm,
and his business was with an Italian company, Zegna, where he managed the companies, and they got to choose where they lived, and they live on the Grand Canal. And this is the way she entertains, which is so gorgeous. She went to the market, I went with her, and then she prepared these, which are, as you said, some are raw, some are not raw. And this was the how she presented it.
mhm. Is there a dish or a recipe that surprised you a little more than others while you were researching them, whether it was the history behind it, or maybe something that you were not as familiar as until you researched it?
Yes, and I will tell you what that is. It is the simplest thing, and I adore it. I'm looking for the picture of it. It is sesame crusted asparagus.
Uh-huh.
The
Yes.
reason I love that so much is I have learned to only eat seasonal food, and
Mhm,
that is the way Italians have always eaten.
mhm,
The asparagus are raw. They then are put in a batter that is flour and salt and pepper, but they use soda water, which I had never used soda water
mhm,
in a batter. And you dip it in that, and then you roll it in sesame seeds and you fry it in canola oil, and it's not greasy. They are wonderful hot. They are wonderful cold with a glass of Prosecco or with,
mhm,
a sweeter drink, and they are delicious and beautiful. So
mhm,
that was a complete surprise for me. And
mhm,
the crunchiness of the asparagus with that little bit of salt and fried taste with the sesame seeds is out of this world. Viviana, you need to make this.
Okay, I will. I have quite a few pages already um, earmarked. So, and I'm going to show a picture. So, obviously, this is a beautiful home, a beautiful setting. So, the art of entertaining can intimidate many people at first. Maybe they put too much pressure on themselves. Everything has to be perfect right off the bat. And sometimes it's just a small detail. So, just the fact that you care. And maybe next time around, the light bulb is going to come off and say, let me add these, let me add that. And eventually you master it. You feel that, and then it's time to do it all over again. So, do you have a little bit of an ABC of how you think about the table and the entertaining before we get to a beautiful, amazing end result?
Yes, and I will say, Viviana, keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple. The flowers all came from this fellow's garden. But if you don't have a garden or a green thumb, go to a grocery store that you know has beautiful flowers. He then used different vases that he had. I mean, on the back of it were some, mayonnaise jars. They don't have to be fine because what's beautiful there is the mixture of the flowers. The other is mix up whatever plates you have. This is a group called Cucina Fresca, Fresh Kitchen, that we did in all these pastels. But you can use your grandmother's plates, your white plates, you could use paper plates as a liner if you want, straw mats, and then simple glasses and simple passate, simple knives, forks, and
Silverware.
spoons. But that is the most important thing. The most important thing is to use fresh flowers and then use what you have. And it could be a tablecloth. You could not have eight placemats. Italians don't use placemats as much as we do. So use a pretty tablecloth and keep it simple.
Hmm. Indeed. And then also, the charm, the atmosphere comes also with the guests. So the guest list
Yes.
is like number one. Who is coming? What are their personalities? We're going to have fun with the detail that might, be I don't know, make that guest feel at home, or maybe it's a funny guest. So you're playing on that. So
You're exactly right. And, we entertain with all ages, different interests. One of the things that Bill does a lot of times is he'll pose a question that
Mhm,
people will answer. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes he'll say, bring your favorite poem. But creating an atmosphere of fun and
mhm,
looking at who is coming. If we have children, we'll have placemats and crayons so that they can color on them. And Bill is an environmentalist, so he's taking the children outside to look at the squirrels or the birds and make it so that for everyone, they feel like they're at home, they're having a delicious meal, and they're meeting somebody new.
mhm. So how does it feel to have entered the homes of millions of people, and you know that the creativity, the passion, the perseverance, because we take it for granted. You're a very successful entrepreneur that it was easy. Nothing is easy. Your very beginning was not easy. And knowing, or sometimes going to someone's home for the first time and kind of your eye sets on a piece, it's like, I know that piece. And maybe there is also a memory for you around that piece of the design. So how does that feel?
Well, as you know so well, it is a great honor to be invited to an Italian's home. I have said many times, as a Southerner, we meet you, we like you, you're our friend. You have to do three things that we don't like to decide that it's not worth our time to be together. Italians, they need to meet you three times and make sure that you are someone that they want to spend time with. And they, if you are lucky, invite you to their home.
Hmm.
So it is an enormous, enormous honor. Um, I also say keep looking up, never look down because of the things that you see. I mean, I look in your bookshelves and I see a football helmet and I see, a sculpture and all these books, and it makes me want to ask you about them. It's that way with a painting on a wall or a piece of sculpture or a simple arrangement of flowers. Why is it there? What created that? What is the memory? And ask people about it because
Hmm.
it's their story, but then you create your story as well that's similar. So I have always been curious. I love details. I love to look and see what's around me. So the the starting of Vietri and the creation through these years has been a huge treat and gift for me. Um, my incredible colleagues that are running Vietri now, it's I tell them all, it's make it a hobby as well. Don't take it too seriously, but take it seriously and enjoy it because it's filled with wonder. You're working in Italy, the most beautiful beloved country in the world.
Mhm. What before I get into some final curious questions, a quick one. You have greeted me in Italian. You spoke Italian to me before. What are some of that is also a conscious effort to
Yes.
wanted to get the culture, not just being an investor and, take advantage. Maybe that's not a good word to take advantage of the beauty of, you wanted to be part of it. What are some of the other personal investments, so to speak, of your time and to really be an Italian yourself?
Listening, asking questions, taking time always just to walk around and feel that environment. Go into a church, listen to a concert,
Mhm.
go to an opera when you don't understand it. I, all these years, carry a notebook around, even with my phone being there, and I write down things that are new, places that are new. I have a glue stick. I stick a card in my little book, and I go back home, and then I add it to a list, which list it meets. I think for an American to learn 5 words that they can greet or thank people in Italy is very important. I think learning history, the Renaissance, learning about it, being able to ask about it. For my husband, Bill, he is a Dante crazy man. So he's always asking a taxi driver, who do you prefer, Dante or Machiavelli? And they
Uh-huh.
love to answer that. So I think it's engagement and thanking them and asking and saying hello even if you don't know them.
Wonderful. So here are my little funny, curious questions. So, what is your go-to aperitivo when you are at home?
Well, as I said, I am a simple kind of person. I'll either drink a Bellini because I love the peach juice and will keep some concentrate in the house. Or I will drink something with elderberry. We have
Hmm.
a prosecco with elderberry, and I love the delicacy of that taste.
Hmm. And perhaps a drink that once you tried, you thought, never again.
I do not love licorice.
Okay.
So that would be anything with that flavor is not going to be
It's
my
not
favorite.
your,
Yeah.
you haven't, okay. So how about the Italian city that gets aperitivo? Absolutely right.
Venice.
Venice with the cicchetti and the whole,
Oh, it's their world. It's their world of being in the square, St. Mark's Square, and roaming and sitting and drinking very light, delicious aperitivi. Yes.
Let me see if I can find a picture of you in Venice. Here it is. So, okay, so let's see. A dish that always transports you instantly back to Italy.
Something, a fish, a sea bass, a
Hmm.
dentiche with tomatoes and garlics and celery and onions. That takes me back to Italy.
Okay. A hospitality pet peeve, the thing you never do as a hostess.
What do I never do as a hostess? Never talk about politics, and I try not to talk about politics, and don't talk about how long it's taken to prepare a meal because that is part for me of the joy of having people.
Okay. So your most unusual place you have shared an aperitivo. And it could be also an unusual place or moment. Um, I would say it's not unusual, but the one that you share with your husband was really, was very.
Oh, we unusual but incredible. We were on a Venetian boat once with this lovely boatsman, and he fixed dinner. And we had, one of his special um, sparkling wine with gin and basil
Mhm.
drinks with the sunset behind us, sitting on his, rumply boat. And it was really spectacular.
Uh-huh. And by the way, there is I don't know if it is the same drink you're referring to, but there is a wonderful basilica
Oh,
recipe of a cocktail on page 38 where you have it's very simple basil and elderflower Saint Germain
there you go.
are a
That
perfect
that
marriage,
is
like
it.
the one
That
that
is
you and Bill
wonderful.
share.
Can you imagine drinking that on the lagoon?
Oh.
Oh, so nice, so nice.
Okay, this other question, maybe I should ask it right before. One item every hostess should always have on hand. And you'd indicated first fresh flowers, like for the table. Anything else that the guest list, just in case you don't know everyone's.
Lots of candles. And it doesn't matter if they're electric, they're used, they're broken. Just mix them all up and have lots of candlelight on the table.
Okay, I have two more, I promise. That will be it. Your favorite Italian word connected to food or hosting? Something that either is how you call your guests to, or you hear your guests in Italy calling the others to sit at the table. Um,
Um, you know, um, there are two. One is, just vieni, vieni tutti, come everyone. I
yeah.
like the word tutti, everyone,
Mhm.
because that is so inclusive to who is going to join you. And the other thing I love, Viviana, is I've heard a lot of Italians who were calling me, and I said it to you because I feel very warm towards you. I love when somebody says to me, Ciao, Viviana mia, my Viviana.
Uh-huh.
It's that moment of being close that is unexpected. The first time that was said to me, it was unexpected, but it created such a special moment.
hmm And the next question is about a very special person in your life, or one lesson from your father that you still follow today.
Chris Harris.
Mhm.
Chris Harris is my age. Our fathers were best friends. He was part of my family. He is a lovely, spiritual, well read, gentle man who has traveled a great deal in his life. He's had hardships and successes in the definition of what he calls success. And he reminds me always of my childhood and of my values. And he is unconditionally proud of me.
Wow, fantastic. So, Susan, is there anything else that we should be mentioning, talking about that I didn't ask you that you wanted to share with the audience before we go into closing?
Well, I want to tell you, Viviana, you are a fantastic, fantastic person asking questions. Your questions are provocative and interesting, and you're just a class act. And I thank you so much. If people want to buy the book, they can go to vietri.com,
Mhm.
and it is a beautiful book. And we've tried to go to different places so that you just have another adventure in Italy, where I'm working now on Italy on a coast. And those will be lots of fruits and vegetables and seafood. So, it's fun to keep going. And this is my passion.
Yes, even because we didn't mention, but you had also written children's, think Christmas books. So that
Th-
was maybe you were familiar
Yes.
with like the process or this discipline or the, but that was something else that is still out there. I think that is a tradition for the holidays.
Yes, it is. So much fun. And it goes with our old St. Nick dinnerware. So I hope people will look at that as well.
So, Susan, you have been such a a pleasure to have you with us again, and your love for Italy, your generosity with your time, your curiosity, and your elegance just continue to inspire so many people, and myself included. So, Italy in a Glass is again, it's more than a book. It's an invitation to slow down, to gather, to share stories, and to bring a little bit of Italy and a little bit of Susan into our homes. So unfortunately, our time is up and il Big Ben ha detto stop, and it's time for us to say arrivederci e alla prossima. We want to
See.
we want to thank you for tuning into the program. And if you have any questions or comments, or if you have any topics you would like us to address, please contact us at the Italian Radio Hour at gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And remember, if you or any of your family and friends have missed a prior episode or would like to listen to this episode again, subscribe to the Italian Radio Hour on YouTube or where you catch your favorite podcasts. So I would like to profusely thank my guest again, Susanna Mia,
Grazie,
if I
Viviana.
might.
Grazie.
Our sponsor, Istituto Mondo Italiano, è la prima espresso, and believe me, Italy on a plate and Italy in a glass make a wonderful, wonderful Christmas gift. But make sure to keep a copy also for yourself because you would want to just sit by the fireplace or wherever is your reading corner and really enjoy the stories and the beautiful images that Susan has brought to us. Until next time, alla prossima. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Grazie.